So yesterday I got brought to my attention something Blazer related. And I saw one of these Blazer fans on Twitter that's, fairly popular, I think, in the fan community, basically just threw out there, knowing what they were doing, is that they're throwing a raw steak to the Lions Den. So, C.J. McCollum, better Blazer all time than Brandon Roy, huh? And I went,
Excuse me, what? Yeah, what?
And I went and scrolled, and I saw the reaction. It was largely like, brother, no.
No.
And then Casey Holdahl, a friend of this program.
Casey Holdahl jumped in off the top rope of this
Threw his
debate.
briefcase right in the middle of the ring.
He said, I'm going for that debate.
And he said, CJ, not close. CJ won a Game 7.
He said, CJ, Game 7 on the road in Denver is a moment that Roy never had.
Brandon Roy never won a playoff series.
He's not
CJ
wrong.
McCollum. And it was like, it wasn't just that he chose CJ. Okay, I won't agree with you just on that by itself.
Sure.
It was the manner in which he said CJ.
Right.
It was just like, not even a contest. And this is where I will say, Casey Holdahl is a smarter man than I.
Yeah, we love Casey.
Love Casey. The briefcase, what him and Brooke do on the Blazer balcony, does a great job. He's a good friend of this program. I was fundamentally charged up, and I had...
Excuse me!
I had to close my social media.
I can't read this stuff anymore.
I had to delete. I had a text written to him. I wrote it out, and I read it, and I went, yeah. And then I deleted it, and I never sent it. It threw me through a loop, man.
Look, if you want to simply argue a moment in the postseason, sure. CJ has Game 7 on the road at Denver that put Portland in their only conference finals in the last quarter century, and he was a primary reason that they won that game.
Can I give you a counter take?
Sure, go ahead.
Winning Game 7 in a playoff series, monumental.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
What was bigger for Blazer fans?
Stepping out of bounds.
Well,
for me it was.
Sometimes how you start isn't how you end, and how you end ends up being the lasting memory more so.
Sure.
Now, I'm not taking Game 7 away. I'm just saying, like, his more recent playoff moment for the Blazers was the stepping out of bounds, scoring like 8 points in Dame Lillard's marvelous 55-point playoff performance.
One of the best playoff games we've ever seen in NBA history.
But as great as Game 7 felt, is it bigger than Brandon Roy's 24-point Dallas Maverick? We kind of know this is probably it. So the emotions of what that moment meant, you know what I mean?
Sure. It's not even close in my mind.
They ended up losing that series.
They absolutely did, and Roy never won a playoff series, and I understand all of that.
Won the series.
No, I know. I get the arguments. I understand it. Game 7 you want to point to. When you look at career totals, right, it's not even close who has the better career numbers in a Blazer uniform, because Roy was such a short-term run.
Well, I was going to say, that's
it's just, so if that's what you want to compare with and say, well, he's a better Blazer because he scored more points, rebounds, minutes, all that, like, okay, that's fine. I fundamentally disagree with all of that. CJ McCollum was never the best player on the team. The moment in the second round happened because in the first round, Damian Lillard did the wave to Oklahoma City and helped them win that series and was unbelievable that entire run. So I'm not going to overlook that as well. And he also had a ton of shortcomings, including stepping out of bounds in one of the best postseason performances we've ever seen. And so for me, yes, you had the high of a Game 7 and the great shots that you hit and the playmaking that you had that Blazer fans will never forget. But also, to me, it's almost washed out by one of the biggest mental blunders and no-shows of a playoff game of that magnitude that felt like it should have been the end of an era, but then we decided to keep Neil O'Shea and just fire Terry Stotts. But I digress. Thank God we got a new owner coming in. Brandon Roy was the better player. Like, there's not even a debate in my mind that Brandon Roy was the better player.
That's not. It's the
and the better
Blazer.
He's the better. He was the better Blazer, and he was the better player. When he was at his peak in a Blazer uniform, he was the better player, and he was always a more beloved, impactful guy in the community and for the fan base than C.J. McCollum ever was.
Yeah, and I think the accomplishment and longevity of one is fine to acknowledge. I think, but recognizing the feeling that one brings to
This is the Lillard conversation.
base.
Lillard's not the best player in the history of the Blazers. He might not even be top
Hasn't
2
even
or 3.
accomplished the most things for the Blazers on a team perspective.
Clyde and Bill Walton were better basketball players than
Yes.
Damian Lillard. Nobody disagrees with that.
Yeah, why? So like,
but it's the feeling of Damian Lillard and what he means for our
Right.
city and the impact that he's had on our community. That's why Damian Lillard, for a lot of people, is the greatest Blazer of all time.
I'm just spitballing. I'm guessing on this. I could have asked him this because his take, maybe his opinion on the best Blazer of all time would be, well, Clyde got to 2 finals and Bill won one. So like maybe his answer would be one of those
the same.
2.
He's accomplished more in a Blazer uniform.
Maybe he would keep that in that conversation in that regard. But it was funny to read the comments to not only him, but like just the comments to the initial one. Because I don't know where it came from or why.
Where? Yeah, just out of left field.
Just like maybe somebody's super bored on a Thursday.
Let's throw a little grenade out there on social media and watch everybody react to it. And we're doing it right now. And I definitely read these yesterday, and I had the same reaction. I'm like, no, it's not. I wanted to jump in and start tweeting people, calling them idiots.
Now, look, it's not even like remotely a conversation for me. I won't even think about it. It is. It's one answer.
I actually might be upset if they ever retired C.J. McCollum's number. Can I be honest with you?
Oh, we've talked about
like
this
if they do that,
they're going to. I've told you they're going to, and you got upset by that.
But
they are going to, no matter what you think or feel. It's going to happen. I saw one response that was like, "Wow, would you do this to me today?"
I love them both.
Yeah,
man.
there's people that love both.
Yeah, and I was never in that camp. CJ seemed like a good dude. That's fine. I always will hold against him, and this is unfair to CJ. I will always hold against him the fact that he was never traded, and he should have been traded. And the fact that we had to deal with the Dame CJ backcourt year in and year out, and Neil O'Shea saying, these guys could be the next Steph and Clay. They're the second best backcourt in the NBA. How many teams would trade their backcourt for? It's like, well, they didn't play much defense. They're both undersized. They both want to have the ball in their hands. We needed a Drew Holiday, who we finally got 7 years too late. I'll always hold that against CJ McCollum.
CJ and Anthony Simons kind of suffer from the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like they should have been traded guys.
Should have been traded guys. Not a number one. Never were going to be a number one.
Never.
Not a number two in most rational minds.
Yeah.
And yet the organization tried to put them in a position. Like, we tried to pretend the last 2 years that Anthony Simons can play his way into being a number one in the NBA. He's your, primary ball handler and primary scorer on a winning team. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
He's a number 3 guy. Maybe he's a bench guy. And Anthony Simons is a good player. He's a good scorer. Nobody disagrees with that. We were just asking him to be something that he cannot be. And that was the same as CJ. He was never going to be a number 2 on a contending team.
No.
Ever.
Never.
And that's what we asked him to do for essentially a decade alongside Damian Lillard. So, again, to be fair to him, we put him in a position kind of to succeed. And I'm more upset at the organization than I am him. But I don't know. You and I are kind of in lockstep with this. I just never had the emotional tie.
I never felt it
with
for
CJ
him.
the way that I have other Blazers in my.
Because I always felt like it was a logjam. Now they got to a West Finals to their credit.
They did, man. Yeah,
they beat the Clippers, and I'd still argue they kind of, in a weird way, like their playoff journey to the West Finals was a little deceiving. That wasn't the journey they had chose. It was kind of forced on them by a young Anthony Simons.
Yes, without that game, they don't go to the conference finals. They get swept in the second round.
That Clippers series may have ended up being maybe the worst possible thing because remember, that was the first year post LaMarcus.
They had torn it all down to the studs.
They shocked the world with that group playing as well as they did. They get to the playoffs against the Clippers. Clippers suffer massive injuries, including, I think, Chris Paul breaking his hand during game 1 or 2.
Yep.
And that was it. They advanced to the second round, and that's like Neil O'Shea sits there and goes, this is it. I know I solved it.
We're printing money now. Everybody's buying tickets. I'm not touching this thing.
Versus if they lose in 5, it's like, okay, well, that was a fun season, but I need to make bigger moves or change something different here.
Yeah, it should have happened after the New Orleans series, but I digress.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can't really put my thumb on it. I just never felt the connection to him as a player the way that Brandon Roy, he just brought us back. We were in the depths of hell as a basketball fan base and city, and his electricity, the
moments that he had, it was short-lived, but the moments that he had,
they were just bigger.
They're moments as a fan that I'll never forget. The Phoenix game winner, the Houston game winner, the comeback against Dallas in the playoffs. Like, there's just moments from his career that I will always vividly remember. And outside of CJ's Game 7, there's nothing else. And I know I'm not saying he didn't have other moments.
He had the 55
he
right
had a great game
until 3/4.
And they sat him down against the Bulls, and everybody got upset because he should have gone for 60. Like, there's small ones there, but they will never resonate to me the way that I remember where I was listening to Wheels call the comeback against Dallas, driving up from Eugene and being pissed that I couldn't watch the game because we were stuck in traffic. Like, I vividly remember that.
That's the loudest I had ever been in that arena.
Yeah.
Which one?
The Dallas
comeback?
Yeah, because it just kept building.
It's a day game, and they couldn't hit water. They fell out of a boat. He was done. He was done.
He was done, and then he couldn't miss in the second half.
I think the other part, too, I would add to this is I remember exactly where I was on the Houston game winner. Watching that game, I was in my apartment in college. Yeah. And I remember just going like, Yao hits the shot, and you're like, well, that's over.
This is stupid.
And he heaves it, and he hits it, and it's crazy. I think TNT game. I remember that moment because 4 other people ran out of the apartment, like kind of like celebrating the way that me and my roommate did. And like, I'm not saying that never happened with CJ. Did that ever happen for CJ in a regular season game? I can't speak to 100% confidence that it didn't. But I don't know if it did, and I remember the Roy. So your point, like those little
moments along the way,
yeah.
And Game 7 on Mother's Day, Game 7, the what was it, an elbow jumper that he hit to kind of ice the game. Like, I get it. That was a massive moment. It's the only time they've been in the conference finals in my adult lifetime, even though they got swept and weren't really competitive. But to me too, the other hard part is that when Roy was healthy and early in his career, there was never a debate about this could be a guy that could lead your franchise. Like, he was that good of a player. And CJ, to me, was never quite that guy. To me, CJ, and I'm not comparing them as players because LaMarcus was certainly better, but CJ and LaMarcus have a little bit of that same vibe, and it overlaps. LaMarcus does.
LaMarcus got a chance, though, to lead
He got a chance to lead one, and then Lillard came in, though, and what did Lillard immediately become? We were immediately more connected to Lillard after 1 year in the NBA, and LaMarcus was an all-star.
Certainly he won the series, and we're against it, but, like, Lillard won that Rocket series with the shot.
Yes, but LaMarcus' first 2 games are 2 of the best we've ever seen.
And I think if LaMarcus doesn't leave, we're as connected to LaMarcus as almost we are to Dame.
Agree with you there. If he would have stuck around longer, because he was a better player, because he was a bona fide all-star, one of the best power forwards in the NBA.
And it was a perfect fitting of like complementary. You're
big
this,
and little.
I'm that.
Right.
Versus like Dame and CJ had obviously some success, but it was like, hey man, I just dribbled and shot and scored. Now you dribble, shoot, and score. Like, it was the same thing in a different way, right? Slightly different players, obviously. But, yeah, I think that's fair to say. Like, he had a little bit of that for him because he was the CJ of the Roy, but...
They were a little bit of the Robin, not in terms of play with Aldridge early in his career with Lillard, but just in terms of the love of the fan base and the support of the fan base. That it just never... Roy and Lillard always resonated more than CJ and Aldridge did. I do agree with your point. If Aldridge had stuck around, that would be totally different because he was such a good player that it eventually would have gotten there, and he would have been one of the all-time greats in franchise history. But it just never quite resonated the same way.
Random Blazer segment, I know, but it sparked an emotion in me yesterday.
CJ better than Roy.
The poll question's up. Who's the better Blazer for you all time? Brandon Roy or CJ McCollum?
Sure, the comments on that one will be nice.
Some people are going to go, clearly an August 1st social media post here. I'm like, yeah, but I still was like thinking about it yesterday of like, why? Why is anybody voting for the other one? But
rope me in, man.
Some people will. You can vote at Dirt and Sprague.